people will sign on, and then also we'll have the link for everyone as well. So whenever you guys are ready, we can get on started.
Yeah, maybe I'll start for a second just so people know who we are, and then John can kind of take over and do some things as well. So,
Sure.
I'm Dr. Mike Hamilton, and my wife Amy and I used to be Gonstead doctors. I mean, I guess we still are. We don't practice today. We practiced for about 6 years in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and John actually worked with us at that time too. So he knows more about chiropractic than a lot of chiropractors do, I think. And as we started doing what we do today, doing online marketing, John started with us. He's really a partner in our business today. So we work with about 2,000 clients right now. I'd say almost all chiropractors, but not every one of them is a chiropractor. And, I think whenever we get a chance to speak with students or younger doctors that are about to start or have started, there isn't really anything that you could do online that we don't know or that we haven't talked about 8,000 times with doctors across the country. And some of the best doctors in the country are our clients in our system right now. And I mean, they rely on us pretty heavily to make sure that they get good advice about what to do and how to generate more patients. And so, I know Marcos asked us to do this last week, and I said, yeah, for sure, we'll do it. And I know our purpose is not to try to sell anything at all. It's just to give good advice. So we hope that, the people on this call ask questions. I think especially if you're not in practice yet and you're getting started and you're about to start, like there's certain things that, we will talk about today that you need to know that, we'll talk about what's working, but also like young doctors always have the same question, like, when can I get my website up? When should I do it? Like, should I do this? Can I get a different phone number and use that first before I have my office open? And you can make some errors there that can really hurt your online presence and your SEO and your optimization. John and I are both good at SEO. John is probably the smartest person at optimization and SEO and getting your website to rank that you could possibly find to speak to on this call. So, pick our brains and make sure that you ask questions. We'll try to cover some things. I know John's going to cover some things that we talk to, almost any doctor that calls us any day about. But if you guys, if anyone on this meeting has questions that they want answered, we'll certainly answer them. So, and that's our goal, is to try to provide the best advice and information we can. So anyway, maybe I'll let you take over a bit, John, and go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll just follow that up just a little bit here. I know, like, when someone gets out of school, everyone's excited. They're like, all right, I'm ready to get my practice started. You guys are very deep into the philosophy of chiropractic, which is, and you assume that, all the patients out there are as equally as deep into that philosophy as you are. And unfortunately, that's not the case. But by speaking to them in a way that satisfies their questions, their desires, you ultimately end up getting to talk about what you want there. So it's a lot of times when I talk to doctors, they're focused on what they want when they should actually be focused on what the patient wants. Because at the end, your website isn't for you. It's actually for them. So that's the most important thing. I talk to people that are kind of all over the place. Like, there's people that want to do it themselves, and there's people that want to have friends do it, and there's people that want to hire companies do it. And then when you talk to everybody, you hear terminology and things that we use in this industry that make you feel, like you don't know anything at all. And it's really being done to confuse you, because either the companies don't really know what they're doing, or if they really told you what they were doing, they'd be afraid that they might do it themselves. So I think a good spot to start is going to be your website. The first thing I guess I'll show you a website and we can go through that as I cover these. So let me share my screen. This was actually the doctor that started it all off. This is Dr. Josiah. He was actually talking to Mike on the phone on a number of occasions, asking questions like, how do I do this? What do you think of this? And eventually Mike said, you know what, why don't I just talk to you guys, share some information with you. That way, when you guys get going, you at least get out on the right foot. And not only did Dr. Josiah do everything that we told him to do, he ultimately ended up working with us, and he's been doing fantastic. He has a super successful office. So like when you go to build your website, what should you be focused on? There's what I like to call the know, like, and trust, right? When people are coming to your website, we put analytics on all of our websites. And I can tell you there's 3 pages that encompass 90% of all the traffic that happens on the website. Obviously, you have the home page, which is where we send most traffic. The second most visited page is going to be the meet the doctor or meet the team page. And this is because of that know, like, and trust, right? They'll get to know you on your home page. Then they go to your About Us page or your team page to get to start to trust you. Like, who are these guys? What do they do? What do they like to do for fun? We encourage you when you do your bios, don't just talk about your accolades or your education. Talk about, who you are, why you got into chiropractic. Let people in a little bit. It'll go a lot further than just talking about your credentials that most people don't really understand. This is also a great place. A lot of times people want to shoot a video. Put it on your About Us page. You'll find that more people will watch it when it's on there. And the biggest thing that generates the most new patients is going to be clear call to action. So you'll see on any of these pages, phone number, new patient special. Here's a thing that we found through a lot of testing was a lot of times people will say, schedule an appointment. And that's going to be a emotional hurdle that's hard for people that have no idea who you are. So if you schedule an appointment, that means that you automatically assume that this office can help you and you're ready to get started. When we do new patient special, the actions that we have them take, in this particular case, they offer multiple services, but name, address, or name, email, phone number, and how can we help is the same actions as a schedule an appointment. It's just that psychological hurdle is much lower. You'll find more people will take action. That is 90% of your traffic that just happens on those 3 pages. So you want to make sure when you design your site, it is about that know, like, and trust. The fastest way that you can do that is having good pictures, knowing what pictures to take to show who you are, what your personality is, and then having bold text. Because the average time that someone spends on the homepage before they make a decision is going to be about 7 seconds, which means we know they're not reading all of this stuff. But we do know that they're looking at the pictures. They're also reading these big, bold text aspects. And then as you go down, you can really get a quick feel without having to read too much. Like, this office is pretty cool. They've got a lot of good things going on. It's probably a place that can help me out. Any questions? I can talk all night. Been doing it all day. Still
What
good?
do you off? What do you suggest when you went to that spot, that what you offer? Are you saying do you suggest like offering things that are the most common that chiropractors do, or do you kind of do a balance of the most common and then also things that some people don't even know chiropractic can help?
Are you talking about on this page, the special offer page?
I think it was on the home page.
On the home page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Towards the bottom.
So understand that when somebody gets here, they are here because they've already determined a chiropractor can help with all of their problems or solutions. So telling someone like, we help with back pain, we help with neck pain, they didn't get to your website because they were searching for something else. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, chiropractic website, I wonder what they help with.
Yeah.
They're already under the assumption that a chiropractor can help, because the most searched term that's going to produce the most activity on your website is chiropractor, chiropractor near me, chiropractor Des Moines, so your city. So they've already made the conclusion that whatever's going on, chiropractic can help with.
Okay.
So you're better off, right? We have 7 seconds. So a lot of the services that you offer and people will say that they do, most of the general public doesn't know what that is. So you can spend that 7 seconds having someone try to figure out, like, what is the Graston technique or whatever, cupping or whatever you're doing. Or you can spend that 7 seconds letting them get to know, like, and trust you there.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
The other thing that you have to realize is keywords is a big term that's used. A lot of times people will ask, or like, well, how many keywords are on my page? And there's one keyword basically for every page. So you don't have to put all your information on the homepage. You'll notice that the homepage is obviously optimized for the most important term, chiropractor West Des Moines. But then within here, like they offer neuropathy treatment. So if someone's searching for neuropathy, we actually optimize it to where this page shows up for that search term. So you don't have to tell everybody on your homepage everything you do, because if they're searching for neuropathy, they're going to get this page which says, hey, we do neuropathy. We're good to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I was also just kind of asking as well, if you scroll down on this page to the bottom, right there. So you see how there are like certain words there though, if people were investigating, how do
Yep.
you decide which one, like which?
So the reason why we have this on here is, earlier I told you we build websites for the patients, not for the doctors.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, the doctors are the ones that own the website. This stuff is to keep you happy. That's ultimately what it's there for. Most people aren't going to ever scroll down this far. And again, if somebody is already on your website and they have headaches, they've already decided a chiropractor can help them with headaches. They don't need to see this. And let's say they're pregnant too, okay? So let's say we have someone who has headaches and they know a chiropractor can help them out. You're going to have a better chance of seeing that they're pregnant, or when you're doing your questionnaire in the beginning, their intake paperwork, they're going to say that they're pregnant. You're going to have a much better chance of them connecting with you there than they are going to go, oh, they're doing pregnancy. Well, let's check this out. I think I want to read a whole bunch about pregnancy. Let me just read this whole article. So someone online searching for a chiropractor that does pregnancy, again, this is going back to that keyword, right? When someone's interested in that, this page is going to show up and it's going to fit that need. But your average person they're not going there to go, well, I like these guys, I just got to make sure that they do everything under the sun, otherwise I'm not going to go to them.
Exactly.
That
makes sense.
One of the interesting one of the interesting things that I found really early on, Marcus, because I'm a chiropractor, and I assumed people were reading these pages on the website, and I almost fell off my chair one day. I remember, Dr. Pam, and at that time we were just starting the business, and we were working in her basement at that time, which is kind of crazy, but I was looking at analytics, and I remember I yelled upstairs to my wife, Amy, and I'm like, you got to come down here right now. Because I was looking at analytics on one of the sites, and what I saw is that people were on the homepage for an average of 5 seconds. And then they went to the About Us page, just like John said, for 5 seconds. And then they either chose them or they left. And I was like, I wonder if that is happening on other sites. So I went to, at that time, we probably had 25 clients. So I went to like every one of them, and I saw the exact same thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we need to get pictures of the doctor at the very top of the website. We got to have the call to action button at the very top, because we had it where you had to scroll down to get to it. And the instant I made that change, all of our clients started getting 2 or 3 extra new patients a week, just because I shifted those pictures around and moved that button. And I think, we used to build our sites where we had these symptom boxes all at the top, like that thing you asked John about. We used to have that at the top, and the doctors loved it. They picked it every time. It was like, we want that design. We love it. And John and I were looking at analytics on that too. And we saw every single time, I'm not saying like not very often people clicked on those buttons. Absolutely no one ever clicked on those buttons. Like if we had a back pain button and a neck pain, never, totally ignored it. So we're like, oh my gosh, we have to get this off the website. But the doctors were upset. They liked it. So we just slid it way down to the bottom. And then the doctors didn't complain because it was still there. But like we could, work around it because the patients didn't care about that. And I think it's exactly what John said. If they're on your website, they're there because they already think they know what you do, even though they don't know what you do. They have no idea what you do usually, but they think they know what you do, and they're not coming there to learn about what you do. So like, let's say, that we got a lot of Gonstead doctors on this, and, we all think because we were Gonstead doctors that people want to learn and read about Gonstead. They don't. And they won't read about it. 1 person out of 100. There's a few analytical people in the world, like most of us Gonstead doctors are analytical a bit. We will read those pages. So we think everyone else does, but everyone else that isn't like us doesn't do that. And so it's not that you shouldn't have it there. And, I said in the beginning, we're really good at SEO. So we build a lot of pages into the website so that our websites optimize well and rank well in the search results. But we're not building all those pages in because we think anyone's reading them, because we can see that they're not. They don't ever look at any of those pages at all. So anyway, hopefully that helps a little bit and just gives you, I'm saying the same thing John did, just giving you a little different view of it. So
no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And I feel like, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Is it so when people search in like Google, if they say pregnancy and pregnant chiropractors for pregnancy near me, like that page and that click is for that search, as opposed to them being on your website looking for it.
So we'll have it set up so that page is what comes up in the search results. And what I would say is too, and John will agree with this also, like, I mean, not that many people search that term that you just said, but like, let's say you have you really do a lot of that in your practice and you have a big pregnancy practice, then, we would work harder on that page then, because that's kind of a typical internal pregnancy page we would put in that John showed you. And Dr. Josiah's got good pictures in there too. But, if someone's driving a lot of traffic, then we'll sometimes turn those pages into looking more like home pages on the inside. So they're really well done and, detailed out more if someone has that need, but most of the time they don't. But you were going to say something too, John. I cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah. So let me just, so to answer your question, let me see if this will pop up in. It won't here. So let me do it this way. So we'll just do a search here, right? So someone that's looking for a pregnancy chiropractor, we'll just use this site for an example here, right? They might type in pregnancy chiropractor, West Des Moines. Now I have to use the state because I'm not in that state, or near me. This is a search result that they're going to get here. And you'll see that not the home page, but the pregnancy page. And we've built out a couple pages. So he's ranking number 1 and number 2. So that's why you don't have to jam everything on your home page, right? You don't put 100 keywords on one page. It's 1 keyword per page. That way, when someone clicks or just doing a search specifically for that, they get the information right in front of them. They don't have to go to the home page and go, okay, well, I was looking for pregnancy, but where is that information at? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
So that these pages are in here not because people quote read them, right? This pregnancy one, it might get only 4 or 5 visits the whole year, but those 4 or 5 probably percentage wise have a higher probability of turning into a patient than the majority of people that quote hit your homepage. So it's not difficult to do when you know what you're doing. You might as well do it. And because of the way that we have the SEO built in, we're actually using all of these internal pages to also help power up the homepage. So there's a synergy there working together where ultimately we want to show up for this, but we also want to cater to the people that are looking for that uniqueness that we do as well.
There's probably one thing I just thought. Oh, sorry, Marcos. One of the things I just thought of when you guys John was just talking about that is like if you look at the search results in almost any city, you're going to see that either our clients, Perfect Patients, sometimes Chiromatrix, those companies will almost always have the top positions in every city. Not every time, but go city to city, you'll generally see that. And there's like, let's just say, Marcos, you went off and you decided, I'm going to do my own website. Like, you can definitely do it. I mean, if I figured out how to do it as a practicing chiropractor who knew nothing about internet marketing, 20 years ago, I knew zero and learned on YouTube. If I did it, you can do it too. If you put the hours in, but you're competing against someone like John, and John's job is to make sure that when a site is built for someone like Josiah, that every single page in that website is optimized perfectly, as much as we have knowledge to do so at any given moment. And then all those pages are interlinked. And so like I just looked at Green Bay the other day, and our clients are, the whole first page almost is our clients. And it's like that because Green Bay is a Gonstead mecca. Basically every Gonstead doctor that graduates comes to Green Bay. So we have a lot of them here. And because we do the Gonstead program that we donate money back to Gonstead from, a lot of them signed up for that. And so anyway, yeah, I think it's most of it, there are some really smart, there's a client of ours we have, he's one of the first clients ever signed up with us, and he's probably referred us more people than anybody that we have. And he probably knows more about internet marketing than anybody that we have as a client. And he still works with us because he doesn't want to spend the time to try to compete with us. Like, it's just for the little bit of money he pays us to help. It's pretty worth it because our whole life is geared towards making sure that our clients rank well and outperform other sites. And it's not hard stuff. I mean, we could have another talk someday just about SEO and explain kind of the intricacies of it, because that would take too much for tonight. But we certainly don't try to hold anything back on it. If you ever ask us questions or whatever, there's nothing we won't tell you. We have no secrets we won't tell you, but it's just a time factor. Like, is it worth your time to try to figure this all out on your own? And I think you probably would need, John, you could probably chime in on this, but if I had to say, you'd probably need to spend 3-4 hours a week, every week for years to just try to catch up to what John knows right now. So like, there's a lot of little things to know and a lot of trial and error that has to happen to get this stuff to really to work. And if you can be at the top of the search results, and then you can do some of the other things we'll talk about tonight, like you're producing quite a few patients. I mean, most cities, our clients are generating a pretty good flow. When I was still practicing and we built our first website, like the internet was irrelevant. I mean, we averaged about 80 new patients a month in practice. And if we got one from the internet, I was like, woo, great. But times are way different now. And I mean, we have a lot of clients that are getting, dozens of new patients a month from internet marketing. And it's a lot. It's, you know, it's almost all the new patients they get in their practice minus referrals. So anyway, sorry, I'll stop rambling on that, but we can probably, if you guys have questions about website stuff, throw them
We
out there
do.
for sure. But
Yep. We do have one
yeah.
here. I was just trying to get
Okay.
it snuck in. So we got our first question of the night. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It is, how about testimonial section on the website? Does it help? So it indirectly, yes, right? You have to define what does help. What do you mean by help, right? Does it help me rank? Does it help me close business? It definitely will help you as far as building that know, like, and trust. What I will say is, now that most people are using mobile phones, the majority of people are going to do a search. Actually, I got to stay in this tab, right? Chiropractor, West Des Moines. So probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it was still heavily desktop search, but now it's mobile search. And the Google Maps section takes up far more real estate than it ever has in the past. So if you have a patient that has a Gmail, because the only way someone that can leave you a Google review is if they have a Gmail email address, then it's far more valuable to have them leave you a review on Google than it would ever be to have them give you a testimonial on your website. With that being said, though, if you have someone who wants to give you a testimonial and they don't have a Gmail, well, you don't want to waste it. So you absolutely want to do a testimonial. I would recommend also trying to get a picture of them. So if we do put testimonials on the site, being able to put a face with the testimonial. Actually, we don't have any of his on here because he's just focusing on Google. But being able to have a picture and the testimonial, right? We want to make it as valuable as possible. Know, like, and trust, real person. And if you're going to have them leave you a on-site testimonial, you want to try to work in quote keywords, right? You want to rank for chiropractor. So if you can just tell them, you know, hey, when you're writing your testimonial, if you can say, you know, if this is true, right? They've tried every chiropractor in Des Moines and Vero is the best one that they found. Having those keywords in there, not only on Google, but on your on-site testimonial will be beneficial as well. To answer the question, hasn't come up yet, but there's always a question about content, right? Is more content better? I get that question asked a lot, because to kind of circle back a little bit on what Mike said, you know, if you could spend 3 or 4 hours a week trying to catch up to me, the disadvantage, like, I'm nothing special. You guys going through school are far smarter than I am. The problem that you would have trying to learn SEO on your own is you don't know who to believe, right? There's no manual, there's no book that says this is the SEO Bible, that if you do this stuff, and no matter what statement that you can make or read out there, I promise you can find one that contradicts that statement. So now you're getting fed information that doesn't match. Who do you believe? Who do you follow, right? How do you know what is right, what is wrong? And that's the biggest problem that any of you are going to face if you try to do this on your own. It's not that you can't, but you're trying to run your office. So trying to figure out what's right and wrong it's a full-time job. I have trouble with it sometimes. And that's why we have test sites. I belong to mastermind groups, because one person trying to do it all on their own, it's almost impossible. So hopefully that answered that question. So we just to kind of wrap up on the website, you're excited, you understand, know, like, and trust, you're ready to get started. Like, when can you get started? Right? I don't want you to, no matter how you do it, whether you do it on your own, you work with a company, whatever, there's an acronym that we call NAP, name, address, phone number. So what you need to understand is when you're brand new, it is very easy to get information on Google. The hardest thing to fix on the internet is going to be information that you initially got out there that you want to change. So a lot of times the biggest mistake that a brand new office makes is they're like, okay, I got to do something. So let me just open up a Wix website. I'll use my home address and my cell phone, and I'll just use my name right now. And then when I get my business name, I'll change that. When I get a landline, what happens is as soon as you put that information live out there, there's bots and crawlers that start to grab that information. And some of it you put out there and you don't remember where you put it. Others, you don't even know that it was collected and it's out there. So you never want to start any kind of online presence. I wouldn't even put it on your Facebook page. You could start up a personal page or a practitioner page, but don't start up a business page until you know for certain what your business name is. You have your address nailed down, and you have a permanent phone number. Now, it doesn't have to be a landline. I know the times are changing there, but you do want to have, whether it's a voice over IP or a Google number or whatever, you want it to be a permanent number that's not going to change on you. Once you have that information, then you can proceed to create a website, create a Google My Business, an Apple Maps, a Bing Maps, those types of things. But if you don't have that, first of all, you're not going to gain a lot of ground by starting early. And second of all, you're going to create problems that they're not the end of the world, but why run a race with a 5-pound, bucket of water that you got to carry? It's just going to slow you down there. I think we have another one. What is the strategy you usually use to encourage patients to leave a review on Google or social media? So the first thing that I would say is, starting out, whatever the strategy is, get it in place early, because it's easy to form good or bad habits. We have people that will implement a process early, and then we have other people that their process is wait till I get a bad review, and then I'll panic and try to figure out how to fix it. So how do you leave reviews? Okay. There's a few different ways that you can do it. You can definitely use an automated system. We have it where it's, text and emails and reminders and all of that stuff, which is great. I think, as an office gets busy, it's probably a good way to do it. When you're first starting out, your numbers are going to be small. So you can actually have people leave a review in your office. I have a client in La Quinta, California. His patient base is very old. Most of them have phones. Most of them have no idea how to work them. If you don't have Wi-Fi, which means that they have to be on their data network, then they can actually leave a review while they're in your office. If you have Wi-Fi, that means they connect to it, and everyone's going to use the same IP address. When Google sees, or any of these platforms see, the same IP address leaving review after review, they'll start to get filtered. Hopefully that makes sense. So in his case, what he actually does is, when someone says, hey, I'm doing great, what he'll say is, do you mind if you leave me a Google review? And they'll say, yeah, but I don't know how to use it. He says, well, just bring out your phone. He'll pull up Google. He'll actually start typing the review for him, because a lot of them don't know how to operate the phone, and they will actually just hit the send button. So asking, but also helping. So if someone says, yeah, I'll leave a review, and they'll be like, great. What I would tell them, so how do you get someone to leave you a review while they're in the office without sounding desperate, right? Now that you're here, can you just leave the review? What I would tell people, if someone says, hey, I'm doing great, you'll be like, awesome. I'd really appreciate it if you would share that experience. And in fact, I actually get rewarded from Google better if you actually do it from the office. Would you mind doing it right now? And most of them will say yes. Okay. Versus just going, well, leave a review. Yeah. Can you do it while you're in here? You can do, I have a few offices that will use a QR code. We used to use travel cards. And if you're doing something old school like that, what I would do is like visit number 3, put a circle that'll remind you to ask. You can always send out a email or text manually as well. But it's whatever system you choose to do, you need to implement it early and consistently, because the biggest question that people ask, or the thing that they'll say about reviews is, I have the most reviews. Why am I not number 1? Or I'm never going to catch up to this other doctor. And I can tell you that the benefit of reviews is not the number, because you could go out and get 100 reviews today versus someone who gets 1 review for the next 100 days. I guarantee you the office that gets 1 review for the next 100 days is going to beat out the office that got 100 reviews today, because it's not natural. Google's algorithm has gotten really good about filtering out the unnatural events that happen, right? It doesn't seem natural to get that many reviews. So even though they'll be counted, they won't have as much value as getting reviews on a consistent basis. You also want to make sure that you, oh, yep.
John said this already, but I just want to give you guys an example, because I don't know if you would understand what he said based on the way he said it, because he said it he said you can't use the same IP address. So let me give you an example of how doctors have gotten totally screwed on this. So they flip open an iPad on their desk, and they have 100 patients do reviews for them using their Wi-Fi signal on the same device. Totally wasted their time. Every review gets thrown out. Google, that's what John's saying when he's saying that. So a lot of offices do that, because they're like, oh, I'll just use my computer and have everyone just do reviews on it when they're here. And you can do it, and none of the reviews will get counted. They'll throw them all out. So it's important that they use their own individual device, and that it's not connected to your office Wi-Fi, that they're using, a tower signal for that, so that Google sees it's different people and different devices, or you'll be toast. But for the most part, people, I mean, if we talk about, John's trying to relate it to a student just starting, but almost everyone that we work with uses an automated system today. There's several of them out there. We have one. There's several companies that offer different systems that just, patient comes in and then it sends them a text or an email to do the review. And that I think that's almost what everyone does today on that, for the most part. But if you don't want to do that and you want to go around it and do stuff in the office, you can. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that.
So hopefully that answers that question. Yelp, so here's something that a lot of people won't tell you about Yelp. For most of the country, it is pointless. You don't need to worry about it. If you live in California, Texas, kind of those coastal areas, let's just say you open up your practice and for whatever reason, Yelp is big in your city. Yelp is really good about punishing the businesses. So even when you use an automated system where we can send out a text and an email asking for reviews, somehow Yelp seems to filter out those reviews by a link aspect of it. What I have found that works with Yelp is have the person, first of all, the person has to be you need to be in a market where people are active on Yelp. And if you are, have the patient just do a check-in. Don't leave a review, don't do anything, just check in. What will happen is later on, Yelp will say, hey, you did a check-in here. Would you like to leave a review? Once Yelp solicits the review, if someone leaves a review at that point, they almost always stick. So that's the only review site that has kind of a quirk about it, where using an automated system, asking them to do it in person in the office doesn't seem to work as well as just doing that check-in.
Now, what John's saying about Yelp is if there's one website thing that can kill your practice, like literally almost destroy it, it is Yelp. I would say it is the most dangerous website to doctors in the world. Because if you get a negative review there and then you trigger their system the wrong way, by what happens is somebody will get a negative review and then they'll be like, they'll do a positive review for themselves and they'll have 20 other people do it too. And it will trigger Yelp's system and it sort of locks itself down. And what happens then is they'll let all the negative reviews show and they will throw out every single positive review you have. And what happens is someone searches your business, your website will come up first and Yelp will be right underneath it with a 1-star review of some patient saying you're the worst doctor in the world. And trust me, we have been on hundreds of phone calls with doctors that will pay or do anything to try to fix this problem because it destroys their practice. They lose tons of patients because of it. So I think having some kind of a system in place like John's talking about with Yelp, where you ask patients to do check-ins and hope to get some natural flow of reviews on Yelp is a real good idea. I think if I were starting another practice, I would work fairly hard on that one, because if you don't, and then you end up getting one of the negative reviews and you can't get any positive ones back in, it's a practice killer. It can really sabotage your new patient numbers. So anyway.
All right. So we got our website, we got our NAP, we got all of that stuff. We got our website up, and then we're sitting back and we're like, wait a minute, no patients are coming in. What's going on? So one thing that you need to understand when you're a brand new office and opening up, it doesn't matter how well your website looks, doesn't matter how much SEO you put into it, you're going to have to go through a trust building phase with Google, right? At some point, Google is going to go, okay, this is legitimate business. I'm going to give it the ability to rank now. And then if everything is done correctly, you'll start off, pretty high, and you can work your way up from there. If you read Google's documentation, they will tell you that it takes 9 to 12 months to be able to even rank. When you got all your ducks in a row, you do everything the way you're supposed to, I normally see that window in a neighborhood of 4 to 6 months. Sometimes if it's in a really competitive city, it can creep up to 9. But there's a window, 3 months, 2 months, it doesn't matter what you do. And you have to understand, you might hear the term black hat, white hat SEO, good, bad. SEO stands for search engine optimization. If you don't know what that means, that's the secret sauce that allows you to, like who's number 1, who's number 2, why. It's because of SEO. And Google doesn't understand the difference technically between good and bad. What usually is the difference maker is that velocity, right? Something good done too much can be just as detrimental as doing something bad. So it's like water, right? Water is good for you, but if you drink 3 gallons of it in 10 minutes, bad things are going to happen. So that's the way SEO works as well. So you're going to have to do something, you can wait, right? You can do offline marketing, you can do other things, but online, it's like, okay, well, what can I do to speed things up? The best thing that an office can do at that point, and I'm going to have to change up my sharing, is going to be Google Ads. Actually, I might be able to do it just with a search here. Are you guys familiar with Google Ads? Have you heard of that term before?
Yes, a little bit, yes.
Okay.
Not very in depth though, for me at least.
Let's see. Okay, perfect. Here's one on here. Okay. So I've recently been telling docs this. There's basically, when we're dealing with the internet, there's 2 types of people. There's people that click on ads and there's people that don't click on ads. So I am one of those people that don't click on ads. I am always down in this section here. And this is where having this section here is called organics. Okay, so if you ever hear of that term, this is what they're referring to. So you have organics, you have the maps, and then you have the ads. And you can see that the ads are the only way that you can get into this spot is through paying Google, pay-per-click, Google Ads. And you can see this little ad here, in a lot of cases, will be that top listing. So you have people like me that I avoid these. So your SEO is going to help you show up here. Now their ad didn't show up, but they are actually running Google Ads. So in theory, you could actually have this spot, you could have this spot, and you can have this spot on a given search. So how powerful would that be to have 3 out of the, 50% of the top searches when someone is searching for a chiropractor? The other thing that's going to happen is if you start running ads tomorrow, your site is going to show up in this section tomorrow as well. So while you're waiting for this section here to come up, you can use Google Ads to jumpstart your office, is what you can do there. It also allows you to tell Google, so this guy's in West Des Moines. And a lot of times people will say, well, that's great. But I actually pull a lot of people from Clive or, Norwood over here. The problem that you have with organic, because Google doesn't make any money off of organic. So it's going to try to restrict you as much as it can for what we call free advertising, right? You don't have to pay Google for it. So in most cases, you're going to be able to rank organically in the city that you're physically in. But up here in Urbandale, which a lot of people live up here and they work in Des Moines, he's not physically in there. Google's not going to let him rank. I don't care what you do for SEO. But with Google Ads, we can make sure his office shows up here within a radius, by zip code, by state. It doesn't matter. You're not restricted by geographic restrictions there. So by running Google Ads, you're able to start generating patients the day after you put your website up there. The quality is going to be very similar to what a natural chiropractic lead is going to be, which is going to be very similar to a referral if your website is done correctly. Any questions about Google Ads?
I'd probably say a couple things about it too. I mean, we've gone from, when we first started Inception 10 years ago, Google Ads really didn't matter. Very few people did it. And I told people not to do it at that time. We tell pretty much every client we have to do it now. It's almost like a constant, spring of new patients that come in your practice. So, but it's something that you have to understand return on investment. So, and John and I speak to a lot of chiropractors, and they understand the term, but they don't understand what it means. So like if I say, what is ROI? I mean, return on investment, but like they don't grasp that topic because we'll have a client that'll say, well, I'm not going to do Google Ads because that's going to, let's say it costs you $1,000 a month to do Google Ads. And like, well, I'm not going to do that. That's way too much money, but they're going to make back in Green Bay. I can pretty much guarantee you that in Green Bay, if you did Google Ads where we are, you'll spend $1,000 a month and you'll make at least $4,000 back. So from, if you're a banker and every time, if you're a banking person, then, every time you give someone 1,000, you get 4,000 back. Most people would jump up and down and do that as much as they possibly could. It's a very good deal. But most chiropractors will not do that. I would say about 20% of chiropractors will think that's a good deal. If I say, like, if you spend 1,000, you're going to make 4,000, they're like, I'm not doing it. Like when John and I are like, what? Like, what is happening here? Like, how do they not understand this? But, we didn't go to school to be business people. We went to school to be chiropractors, but, you have to be a business person also. And, generally, I think, I don't really see any places where clients aren't making more back than what they're spending. It's really unusual if they're not making a profit from it. So anyway, I think hopefully that helps. I think Google Ads is something that's pretty important though for most offices to do.
And the steps that I'm covering this would be the steps that I would recommend implementing, right? First, you got to get your website. Then you're like, okay, there's so many different things that you can do online, right? You've got Google, you've got YouTube, you've got Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok and who else, Rumble and all different kinds of things. It's basically these three pillars: website, Google Ads, Facebook advertising. We have doctors that are doing that are getting new patients from TikTok, right? But the energy that it takes in order to make those videos and interact with the comments and everything is so much greater than if you just run Google Ads or do Facebook advertising. You'll be far better off waiting till you have those dialed in before you start branching out into all these different social media platforms. Does that make sense? Looks like we've got another. Yep.
Cities, yeah.
Do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I think on our team, I do I really work hard with the Google Ads team right now. And John works really hard in the Facebook team for sure. So like with Google Ads, like someone asked you, do you always go after all the cities around you? I think I don't think you worry about the cities as much as you worry about the radius. Like there's a certain distance people will probably drive to you from. And you want to make sure that radius you're covering. And, there's certain cities where your city is the only city in the area and there's nowhere else to reach out to. But like Green Bay is a good example because Green Bay is made up of several cities that are kind of packed together. And you definitely, people in Green Bay will drive from those places. But then there's something like there's a river that cuts right through the middle of Green Bay. So it kind of makes an east and a west side. And, John and I can both tell you, most people will not cross that river that goes through the middle there. So because everything that's on one side is on the other side and people don't like crossing that river, even though it only takes you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get anywhere in Green Bay. So if I'm on the east side, I'm going to probably run my ads so they are only showing up on the east side because I'm probably going to waste my money if I cross that river. So, those are kind of discussions like when we're doing Google Ads with a client, we'll talk with them about those type of things because we don't know every city, but the people that are in those cities understand them. And they say, yeah, like that part of the city, those aren't the patients I want. I want the ones that are over here and I want this. And then we can target in on those areas with Google Ads. And we can also exclude areas. So like we can say we can put blocks in so Google won't show your ads to people that search from this area. Google Ads is kind of a game of trying not to waste money. You want to eliminate every wasteful click that you can because you're going to spend, in Green Bay, you're going to spend $8 a click. In Denver, you're going to spend $20 a click or more. And so those get expensive and you want to try to, refine your ads as much as possible so that every click you get is someone that could potentially become a patient. You don't want someone that's searching for some other chiropractor clicking on your ad, wasting your money and that kind of thing. So we do a lot of work on negative keywords. So we can put keywords in that are negative keywords. So if someone searches this term, your ad does not show up. So you want to put in like all the doctors' names that are around you, their first and last names, all their business names should go in as negative keywords. Because if I'm in your city and they search chiropractor Mike Hamilton, if one of your keywords is chiropractor, which it needs to be, if they type that and then they type my name, your ad will show up if you don't have my name in as a negative keyword. And then people get confused and they'll click on your ad and call you and like, oh, I thought this was Mike Hamilton's office. And you're like, no, why'd you call my office? What the heck? And you'll hang up. And that's where you need a negative keyword. Because if my name was in as a negative keyword, then your ad won't come up when that gets searched. So there's a lot of little tricks like that to save money. Google Ads has a lot of settings. You can do smart, like there's kind of a smart campaign thing you can do that you can do on your own. It's not that it doesn't work sometimes, but you can waste a lot of money there. Google doesn't give you much control over what's going on with your ads. So they're showing up all over the place in a huge radius and way bigger than what you can really pull patients from. And there's a lot of doctors that we talk to, a lot of doctors that say Google Ads don't work. And it's because they did it on their own, they did it wrong, or someone didn't do it well for them and it didn't work. I think it's pretty rare for it not to work when it's done correctly, like when it's set up correctly and managed correctly. And the longer you do it, the better it gets, because they're like, we have a guy that's in Tempe right now that gets about 40 new patients a month from Google Ads, that's a ton. I mean, that's enough to build a really big practice. But he's been working really hard with us on it for years, and his negative keyword list at this point is like 3,000 words. And so when his ads show up, it's almost always to someone that's a legitimate patient. He doesn't waste any money. And all the dollars, he probably spends 2,000 to 3,000 a month on ads, but if you spend that much and you get 40 patients, it's totally worth it. Like if you can't make your money back on 40 patients spending 2,000 or 3,000, then you've got some other issues in your office that need to be corrected as far as what you're collecting on a visit. But generally, I think we can move on to Facebook for sure. But I think Google Ads they're really good right now. I write articles about it quite a bit right now and try to educate all of our clients because it's pretty helpful for them.
All right.
Thank you.
What's our time frame? Is this?
It's really whatever works for you guys. You guys
Okay.
are doing everything for us, so we appreciate whatever you can do. Thank you.
So after Google Ads, another good platform to look at is going to be Facebook advertising. And it's one of those things that if you go into it with the right mindset, I think it works phenomenal. I think when people have problems is because their expectations don't match what the reality is with Facebook. So, up until now, we've been talking about Google, which means somebody has to go to their computer and type in something chiropractic related, right? Most of you probably are on Facebook. You might have even seen chiropractic ads on there. Well, unlike Google, Facebook, in order for me to see your ad means all I have to do is go to Facebook and start scrolling. I don't have to really take any kind of proactive approach to that. So what ends up happening is a lot of doctors will do Facebook. They'll attract people that aren't, quote, referral quality, and they'll say Facebook doesn't work, which then leaves Facebook open to the offices that understand it. And the way that you should approach Facebook is, you probably wouldn't pick, an attorney, a dentist, a brain surgeon off of Facebook as far as, hey, I need to find one of those. But there are definitely people. My wife is someone who likes to click on Google Ads. She's also someone who loves to buy stuff off of Facebook. I own some crazy stuff at my house right now that have been purchased off of Facebook ads. And she would absolutely go to a chiropractor with the offer, some kind of offer to entice her to take a chance. She's an excellent chiropractic patient. So Facebook is really about being consistent with getting your exposure out there. Facebook has lost its ability to use its pixel, if you've ever heard of the term Facebook pixel, because of Apple shutting it down. So it's a little bit broader advertising, which actually has turned out, I think, to be better, because I think what was happening before was Facebook was getting a little bit too narrow too quickly. And now, since it doesn't know as much about people, it's showing ads to people that it probably wouldn't have shown them to before, before in the past. And I think where a lot of offices are failing is they don't have their in-office stuff dialed in. They'll say, oh, Facebook leads are bad. But if you were to look at, how are they doing their phone calls? How are they doing their day ones? How are they doing their report of findings? If you looked at that, I would bet that there's more issues with the way that they're approaching their services in-house than it is so much with the lead there. So you got a lot of people that are dove into Facebook because they hear people saying, I'm getting 100 patients. We had to turn it off, which is just not reality. They go into it with that expectation, and then in a few months they hop out. And when you're ready to do Facebook advertising, if you can stay in it long term, you'll find that I have doctors that have been doing Facebook advertising for 3-4 years now, which is unheard of if you're really looking at Facebook advertising overall. But they understand the lead that they're getting. Their in-office procedures are set to deal with that, and they're consistently getting those people, because a lot of times people don't realize is that Facebook lead, that Google lead, that website lead is actually more than just one. Right? They have, if your procedures are right to where you're talking about friends and family, if you have your referral requests set up right in your office on how to ask for referrals, that one Facebook lead, which, okay, maybe you paid a little bit more for, or wasn't the greatest quality, they referred a friend and a sister that are phenomenal patients. It's that I've been saying recently, it's that compounding effect of your marketing efforts. And that is where sometimes Facebook is the one to do out of the gate, but I think it really is a great addition to website and Google Ads at that point. And I can't show you those as easily as I could show you Google Ads, or I would, but hopefully that answers or opens your eyes to Facebook advertising. Are there any questions about that?
Yeah. Are there any common mistakes that you see with the actual Facebook ad itself? Because I know I see some Facebook ads online that are offering, say, just an extremely either cut price, or that's how they're trying to get the click. I don't know if you have any like big things that you've noticed that are some definite don'ts that you see commonly.
Yes. So don't try to qualify your Facebook lead with your offer. Okay. So I would never buy anything off of Facebook. I don't care how cheap you make it. I don't care how expensive you make it. The people that take Facebook offers up are going to be, for the most part, there's really two ways that you can approach this. You can approach this through a relationship building process, which you make videos and education stuff and get to know you stuff. The problem that you have is it's just as expensive to advertise that as it is to advertise what I think the industry will call it is a discount offer. So when you're paying money for advertising, your expectations go up. And most offices do not have the resolve or the patience to wait out the relationship building process, right? You could go a whole month and not get anybody, but yet you have to get that advertising out there in order for it to work. So they give up on it. The discount offer, I guess you would have to, each one of you have to make this decision on your own. But is it more important to get your day one price, or is it more important to get people under chiropractic care? Is probably the way that I would look at it, because you have someone like my wife who is a phenomenal patient. If you offered her a $27 offer, I'm on the fence on whether or not you throw your adjustment in. That's a call that you have to make. but she would never take advantage of a $150 day one special on Facebook. She would absolutely take advantage of a $27 offer. She would sign up for care. She would sign up for a care plan. So are you going to let, $70, $80 stop you? And what I have is I have people will say, we're doing $27 or $37. And they're like, these leads aren't good. Let's raise our price to $49 or $99. And what ultimately ends up happening is they just end up getting less leads. And the leads that are coming in at 49 and 99 are just as good or just as bad as the ones that were coming in at 27. Because it's a mindset shift that you have to do, right? It's that Groupon mindset where people are looking for a deal. Here's your opportunity to present yourself and convert them into good patients. And then I have people tell me, well, they just can't afford it. Poor people can afford anything they want, just like, quote, rich people can. If they want the latest iPhone or the newest pair of shoes, they will figure out a way to afford it. So it's our job to make them believe that they need that care as much as they need that iPhone. So if you don't present the offer to the audience the way that they're expecting to see it, you're not going to do well on Facebook. So you have to play that give and take. And if you can't come, if you're like, I just can't discount my stuff, it's morally against my code, I can't do it, well, then just stick with Google. It's fine. You can put more money towards that and you'll be able to do that.
John, and I don't even know the answer to this, but I want to help these guys as much as I can with really specific information, because I'm not sure if I would have known exactly what I should do based on what you said there. And I think like with Google ads, or let's say, just say the website, I can tell you this 100% on the website, Marcos, like and we've tested this a ton, like if you do a free consultation, like let's say you just give, like we have a new patient special on all of our websites, because just about all of them, because we know that gets the most clicks, we get more patients. We even have it in the search results in the metadata, so you can see it when the search results come up, because we know our clients get more clicks when we do that. If you offer two different things, like if one of the offers is a $99 exam, x-rays, and your first adjustment, and I just offer a free consultation, I will clean your clock. I will get every person and you will get nothing. Like if you give away all that stuff for $99 and I just do a free consult, I will win all day long. So like on the website, it works like that. Facebook is different. So like on Facebook, everyone's giving away stuff and like there's all these deals. But I personally think if you give away a whole bunch of stuff, you're not going to, and I'll tell you too, like I'm someone that doesn't have an issue with it. Like I would totally give stuff away if I can get more patients to come in and educate them. I don't really care. I mean, we did that in our practice a lot, but I don't think that you'll get a whole bunch more people if you give away, like if on Facebook you gave away a ton of stuff for a really good deal, or you gave away a whole lot less than that for the same deal. I think psychologically you'd probably get the same amount of people. It's more, I would guess, when the price gets high, like you say, like, well, $99 is my deal, but I'm giving all this stuff away. Like, it doesn't matter what you're giving away. It's the $99. And John said that a second ago. It's like when it's 27, that for some reason will get someone to trigger to do it. But I know you've played around with just doing free consults on Facebook too, John. So I don't really know what your thoughts are on that. So you should talk about that specifically on there.
Yeah,
what exactly are doing.
If an office said, I don't care what the offer is, I just want you to pick the best one for me, I will always do complimentary consultation, because it's the lowest barrier, right? If we're going to give everything away for $27, well, then let's just do a free consultation. Let's make it completely free. I'll get as many people as I possibly can to reach out to me. I bring them into the consultation. Now I can sell them my day one, because if they're sitting in your office, it's much harder for them to go, no, I'm done, I'm leaving. versus what happens when you start giving it away is I think you drive home that Groupon mindset where it's like you're just here for the $27 stuff. You're not here for anything else. But what ends up happening is when you do consultation, people say, I get the tire kickers, I get the people that can't afford it. You get that at every single price. When you're playing the Facebook game, it's about getting through the no's to get to the yeses. So do you want to make that process take longer or shorter? So complimentary consultation is what I would do all of my online advertising. It doesn't work any worse than anything else. And in many cases, it's going to work better than some of these other offers that you can dream up. And a lot of the times, the stuff that you're offering, people don't even understand what it is. So they're like, okay, well, it's $27, but I don't really know what that is. I don't know if I need it. I just, honestly, I'm just trying to find a chiropractor. This guy must do something other than chiropractic. So they don't, we have doctors that are doing, we're going to do a muscle test and a neuro scan. And it's like, nobody knows what that is. So you're far better off if your morals, because a lot of times with Gonstead, it's like we can't give away our stuff. Do the consultation. Just do that. You'll be totally fine.
And yeah, so that's kind of what I was going to ask next is how do you, especially on Facebook, like you said, no one would choose their neurosurgeon like through a Facebook ad. So how are you making sure you obtain that value of being that Gonstead doctor, as opposed to kind of coming off as just trying to like be just a cheap thing? And you're saying the free consultation makes sense because you're not giving anything away really. You're just really your time, but you're not necessarily giving away a free exam, x-ray, and adjustment, right?
This is why all you guys should have to do screenings, because then you understand. Like if you're at a mall screening people that are coming by, or you're at a trade show, how do you determine the good quality people from the bad quality people?
The ones that come give you time, I feel like.
Well, they all do. Like you just have to stop people, right? You just need to talk to people. So like if you're at a trade show doing a screening, your whole goal is to talk to as many people as you can. You're not going, well, they look like they're dressed good, I'll try, or these guys aren't well dressed or anything like that, so I'm not going to talk to them. So it's that value is going to be done in the office. Everyone's wanting to do it. Like I only want people that value what I do to show up or reach out to me or that type of stuff. And it just, the problem that you have is you might value chiropractic at this level, but for the majority of people out there, chiropractic is just a commodity to them. Like my back hurts, need to go see a chiropractor. Gonstead cares a lot more than active release. I don't care. If my back is feeling better, I'm good to go, right? I mean, you guys have all seen those YouTube videos where they wrap the towel around their neck and just yank on them at that point. I mean, that's not quality, but it's like, getting
I can maybe hub on this a little, Marcos, too. Like, I mean, I've known you for about a week, right? I mean, yeah. I've talked to you a couple times, but I've heard a lot about you from Dr. Pam, and she said a lot of good things, and she's met a lot of chiropractors over the years. And when she, talks about you, she's always like, this guy's going to do some amazing things, and like, she's right. I can tell too. Like we've talked about Josiah a little bit. The first time I met Josiah, I could have told you, I didn't know he was going to do as good as he is, because he's like one of the most successful chiropractors in the country right now. He is killing it. If you don't know who he is, someday you will. He's going to have a management group or something. He's massive. But you knew he was going to be successful, 100%. Like there was no way that guy wasn't going to be successful. So like on Facebook, like most people do not have the ability to get on Facebook and talk to people and be compelling. Like you do, I can tell right now, and John knows it too. You know, like he's met you for the last hour and he already knows like this guy could make really good videos and explain chiropractic to people. And if you put that time in, like let's say every week you make videos and you're not trying to get patients every time, you're on there like sharing good advice, like, hey, a lot of people have headaches in Green Bay, and I wanted to give you some advice about that. And you're giving them advice that they can just use at home. You're not telling them to come in or whatever. Just like be an educator and teach people, and they'll come. You know, like just like us. Like if we do these talks, we're not on here trying to sell you guys anything. Like when we're not going to try to, but because we come and do, you know, if we do a talk for a group of students, like I went to Palmer and spoke to Josiah and his friends, like then they want to work with us because we taught them things and we didn't ask for anything, and they trusted us, and then they wanted our help. So like, you know, like that's what you need to do. Like the most powerful thing you can do on Facebook is that. John doesn't even really talk about it because trying to find a chiropractor that has the ability to do that is like 1 in a million. Like they don't exist. It's like unicorns, you know? So like you have that ability. I mean, there's probably other people on here that do too. I don't know them right now, but like I'm looking at you, I'm hearing you speak. I've talked to you on the phone a couple times. Like if you choose to do it and you put the time into building an audience on Facebook that knows they can trust you, it will bring you way, way more patients and way higher quality patients than doing discount offer ads ever will. John and I wish we could get every client we have to be able to do that. The problem is most of them make a video and we're like, oh my gosh, we can't put that on there because they're going to lose people because they put that video on. They're nervous and they're scared. And like, you know, one thing I would probably tell everybody on this call is practice making videos. Like it is not easy to make videos and put them on YouTube and Facebook. You're going to look like an idiot when you do it the first time. Like, I don't care. I don't care how talented you are. John's first videos were terrible and mine were worse. Like, but he makes great videos now, and I can too, because we're comfortable sitting in front of a camera and looking at it and talking. Like it's not scary to us anymore. So, you know, I think that's one thing. If you're an aggressive doctor that wants to really grow your practice, I would really, you know, how did we used to average 80 new patients a month and have over 100 a lot of months? Like we did everything. I was scared to death. I was scared to do screenings. I was scared to talk. Like I was the kid in school. My paper was shaking because I was so afraid to talk in front of people. But we just did it all the time. We went to Walmart and the boat show and the fishing show, and like we talked anywhere anybody would let us talk. And at that time, the internet really didn't exist the way it does now. So, you know, I would have been making videos like crazy if that existed back then. It just didn't exist then. So, but you know, for you guys where you are now, like if you can get those skills in place, and you don't have to be the best looking person or the best speaker, it's just about practice. You know, like if you practice making videos regularly, like we have a client in Denver that his first videos were horrendously terrible. Like we were like, what are we going to do with this? John knows what I'm talking about right now. And he's pretty darn good now, I think. You know, like I would have told you a couple of years ago, there's no hope for this guy. He needs to just give up. And he's doing it now though. And he's doing well. And he's producing a lot of patients because he just kept practicing, and he's really smooth at it now. So like, I think anyone can do it. Most people don't put the time in. I think that's the way to go. I think John would echo that. Like if you can build a true audience on Facebook or Instagram or whatever you want to choose, like by truly caring and giving, you know, selfless information to help the people of your city, they'll come in and you'll get the best people coming in from it. So I don't know if you have anything else to say about that, John, but.
Yeah, I do. I mean, we were talking about the advertising aspect, and that part, it takes time, right? Like I said in the beginning, a lot of doctors lose the patients. They don't want to stick it out. But so now that we've talked about the quote, the paying part of Facebook, like what can you do that doesn't cost money on Facebook there? So the inspirational quotes, the feel good things on your Facebook page, stop that. Don't put that stuff on there, right? Everyone does that because they think, oh, if I can educate people about chiropractic, they'll come out and they'll come in. The people that are following you on your page are going to be your patients. So they already believe in what you're doing. So you need to use that as patient retention, really. And they want to know what's going on in the office. So this goes back to the videos and different things. Don't be afraid to share stuff that they can share. And what I mean by that is if there's a recipe or something that you like to make that, is healthy, or you want to share that with them, like, let me share with you my favorite, hamburger. Here's a secret thing, because what they will do is share it with their friends, and it's going to come from your page. They're going to go back to your page. They're going to see that, oh, there's a chiropractor. What else? And then all of a sudden you have a picture in your staff. Maybe we have one guy, we actually ran Facebook ads on this, which I just did it with a fluke, but in his office, they took a staff picture in their Halloween costumes where they were like dressed up. They weren't in full gear, but they had like cat stuff on their heads and their faces painted. That Facebook ad did fantastic, but it was something that they were sharing that was real about the office, that was outside of the realm of educating people about, beating them over the head with chiropractic. So that's what you should be using your page for. There's a question in here about adding the doctor's personal Facebook page to the About Us. What ends up happening on that is a lot of times you get a bunch of followers on your personal, and you're trying to get people to connect with your business page. I would say probably keep personal, business, because if you ever have a problem with either one of them, it's going to be much harder to like reset or do something different than like all your business stuff. About Us page should just have your business stuff on there. The other thing that you can do free on Facebook is join groups. There's like local yard sale and clubs and stuff like that, to where if you follow the guidelines, you can actually post chiropractic ads on the yard sale, like looking for a chiropractor, come see us. That's free advertisement. A lot of doctors don't take the time to do that, but you can get into yoga groups and stuff and help out in those, right? Don't always be pushing, just like, hey, I see in my chiropractic office, if you do this and this, it'll help. And you can get really good patients that way. But again, it takes more energy on your part too, but it doesn't cost anything. So those would be like, what can you do free? Be real on your Facebook page and find groups to join to where you can contribute there. And that will also generate some high quality patients for you.
I mean, John and I we go to some pretty big internet marketing seminars, and we've had a chance to hear some people speak. Like there was a girl that owns Lady Boss, which is a pretty massive company at this point. And there's a few other really big personality driven businesses that get up and speak. And there's one common thread every single time they speak, which is what John just said: be real. When people are really real and they share what they really are thinking, and they're not being fake, like, hey, it's Dr. So-and-so, I'm here today, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, that's not real. Like, if that's who you are, then do that. But like for me, I'm not that person. Like, I'm more serious, I'm a little more quiet, like, and I'm effective when I speak that way. Like when I'm who I really am, and I'm really honest, and I care, and I give, like, then it works. Like, people try to be who they're not because they go to a seminar and they're like, oh man, that guy's like crazy, I got to be like that. Like, if you're that kind of person, do that. One of my best friends I went to Palmer with, who averages 100 new patients a month too, like, he and I are totally different. Like, he gets in front of people and does the craziest things. Like, I think I'd get punched in the face if I did what he does in front of people. I know I would, but he gets away with it and it works for him and people love him. But he's this little tiny guy and he's got a lot of energy. and he makes fun of people. And I'm like, man, I would get beat up if I did that. But like it works for him, and he knows who he is, and he's real, and he gets tons of patients because of it. So I think, if you can be on Facebook and be vulnerable, be real, like, be honest with people, don't be fake. Like, people can feel it, when you're not being real and you're being fake with them, they know. And you won't have any audience if you do that. You'll struggle in your practice a lot. So anyway, yeah, I don't want to keep you guys on this thing all night either, but if there's other questions, we'll stay and answer whatever you have. But, I think the three key things, at least for most doctors right now, is a really good website that's really got good pictures and videos and is conversion optimized, we say, a good, strong Google Ads presence. And, you can do Facebook in a couple of ways. Most people do it as discount offers because they don't want to put any time into it. But, the best way is to do a little bit of discount offers probably, and then build an audience with it that really believes in you. That's the most effective. If you did all three of those things well, you're going to get as many patients as you can from the internet. And, it can be a lot in some cities. I mean, there's clients, if you're in a bigger city, you can produce pretty massive numbers, but even in small cities, you can generate a lot of new patients from the internet. So, and I think one of the things that happens with Gonstead doctors in general, I talked about this the other day with you, Marcos, is just that, we tend to be analytical people in Gonstead, and we tend to be the worst marketers in the profession in general. So like, John, honestly, we don't have, before we started doing the Gonstead donation thing that we do, where we donate all this money back from, if a Gonstead doctor works with us, we donate a whole bunch of money back to Gonstead from it. Before we started doing that, we had almost no Gonstead doctors because those people never even call. Like half the doctors that are in our program right now that were even in Gonstead Methodology Institute, like some of my best friends that I used to teach seminars with, like they didn't even have a website, like nothing. And it's like, how, oh my gosh, you guys. And then we put websites up for them because we started doing this thing. They're like, well, I guess I'll join because the money goes back to Gonstead. So they did it. And all of a sudden they're like, I'm actually getting new patients from this. I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. Like we're not here just collecting money for nothing. Like we actually make you more money than you pay us. That's what the purpose of this is. So I think it's waking some of them up. Like I know even Dr. Josh in Iowa, like he's implemented some of the things we've taught him, and it's generated a lot of extra new patients for them. And, he still doesn't really care about marketing. And, he's one of the best Gonstead doctors in the country. He doesn't really need to care about marketing. He's got a big practice, but there's no reason not to put a little effort into that. Just because we're Gonstead doctors doesn't mean we have to be the worst marketers. We're the best at just about every other thing. Like, put a little bit of effort into your marketing too, and you'll get big returns from it. It'll be very worth it. And I think, I know way too many really, really amazing Gonstead doctors that are, broke basically. They're the best adjusters in the profession, and they're barely surviving financially because they never ever put any time into any marketing. And it's sad, like the best doctors in the profession should be having the best practices, but the biggest practices in the whole country are it's always a diversified person or something, like someone that doesn't have any technique almost at all, like has the best practice because they don't put any effort into adjusting or going to a seminar or learning anything. All of their effort goes into marketing. So then they get, the biggest practices in almost every city are those. So, I don't think as Gonstead doctors, we need to go that far and you have to put all your time into marketing. That's a bad idea. But, having a little bit of balance in there, like when the older doctors get up at the seminars and they're like, you don't have to do any marketing if you do Gonstead. False. Like that, I've heard that said at so many seminars and I want to go crazy. Like, you definitely need to do marketing. Dr. Troxel, who was my mentor and one of the best Gonstead doctors ever, like he definitely did marketing, and so did Dr. Gonstead. Dr. Gonstead was one of the best marketers there ever was. Like, why do you think he built that giant practice and did all the flashy things he did? It was marketing. Like he was an incredibly good marketer, and everyone's like, he never had to market at all. Like, he was marketing like a madman. He was putting on all these parties. He was getting all the chiropractors to send their patients to him. So like, I mean, who's ever pulled that off? Like that's the greatest marketing thing ever. So, you know, he probably didn't even think about it that way. I don't know, but he was definitely a showman. And, you know, those are the people that are going to generate the most patients. So, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. It's always hard to do them like this. Like when we can sit in person and do it, it's easier. I know, Marcos, we're going to come down to Florida in the next couple of months and do an in-person thing. And that will be a lot better than this can be, because it's just hard to interact with people through a computer screen like this. But anyway, hopefully you guys learned a few things and it was helpful.
Yeah, this was really incredible. I mean, we learned, I know that we learned a bunch of things that we get, because a lot of times too in our school we get taught by people that have never owned a business, never ran an office, and they're teaching us how to run offices. So a lot of the times, I mean, even if you say this is incredible compared to it's anything even close to what we get naturally. And then I know that also I wanted to also thank you so much for how much you guys do donate back to the Gonstead community, because like you said, you're helping run every Crank It Up seminar there is and getting Gonstead out to students all over every school, and then even dedicating an hour and a half of your night tonight just to talk to some more Gonstead students.
Sure.
And I think we'll definitely keep on getting this out to people though, because like you said, Gonstead is it is untouchable chiropractically, and if we have good marketing with it, people get to understand what real chiropractic is, and then also it'll raise Gonstead chiropractic throughout everywhere, because now they'll just start looking for that as our marketing gets up good. So I appreciate everything you've done. If there's no other questions, I just wanted to, of course, thank you guys again, and we'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you both very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Well,
problem.
thanks for having us. And we appreciate the opportunity to share, at least I do, to share like my knowledge, everything that I've learned with what, you know, I believe is the best technique that has ever existed and probably ever will exist. So it's a privilege for us to be able to talk to you guys and gals. Don't want to mess that up. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if there's people from different clubs on too, like I know we all get busy, and my wife and I get busy for sure, and John. But every time we're at like the Gonstead Extravaganza or something like that, and we can meet with any of the student groups that are out there, I always go to them and say, hey, if there's anything your club needs, if there's something we can do, like, I mean, we're pretty blessed to have an incredible business today that generates a pretty awesome income for us, and we love Gonstead. My wife's whole family is Gonstead royalty, basically. So all of our good friends are Gonstead doctors, and we used to help teach Gonstead, and we were a part of GMI, and Amy ran the seminar, and we were both on the board. And I think, like, you know, anything we can do at inception to help your clubs or groups. I know like the Sherman. Was it Sherman or Cleveland? One of those two. I think it was Cleveland, actually. But I could be wrong about that. I know we donated equipment to them because they needed some equipment because they were trying to get their club going. And like Dr. Josh when we started raising all this money, we were trying to figure out what to do with it. And Dr. Josh in Iowa had the great idea of, you know, doing the Crank It Up seminars. And we're like, yep, we'll definitely pay for that. So you guys organize them. We'll pay for the doctors to get there, pay for their hotels or food, whatever we need to do, so we can get, because I know if we get more doctors out to different schools, the clubs grow so much then, and then you get a lot more Gonstead doctors in the profession. And so anything we can do to help, like, we want to do. And if there's anything that you guys, if there's people on this call that want to reach out to us to see, like, you know, come, we're totally happy to come to, you know, your school or do whatever and do a workshop. And what we're going to do the next time with Marcos is, you know, they have a Crank It Up seminar happening in a couple months, and we're going to come and do a marketing thing the day before. And then we're going to try to get as many of those people to come to the seminar the next day too, so we can get more people to Gonstead that way. So just so everybody on the call is aware of some of the things we talked about outside of that. So So yeah, hopefully this helps. And yeah, any other things you have, we're happy to help.
Yeah, that's incredible. Really, thank you both again for your
Thank
time.
you.
And we'll definitely stay
Yeah,
in touch too
no
about
problem.
getting things together and making sure if there's anything I can do also on this page and keep getting things out. I would love to do whatever we can. 'Cause,
Sure.
I mean, investing in the schools is what keeps this beautiful technique going for the next generation. So thank you
Yeah.
both so much for your time.
Yeah,
No problem.
no problem.
Take care. We'll see you
Yeah.
soon.